Matt. How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like and be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in. A very happy Friday to you. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, and boy, oh boy, the first weekend here of December is shaping up to be a pretty good one here, as we've got plenty going on in the world of sports. Let's start, of course, with the College Football Championship Week, which starts tonight, in fact, with a couple of games that we're going to be talking about, breaking down for you. Of course, Tulane taking on number 24 Army in the American Athletic will certainly be a big topic of conversation tonight, as Army in the top 25 looking to finish off the season with a championship. And not to mention, of course, they will have one last game next week with the service academies. But we also have a Mountain West Championship, which carries a lot of weight tonight, as number 19 UNLV will get another crack at number 10 Boise State. Now, for the longest time, folks have kind of just penciled in Boise State thinking, hey, it's theirs to lose. Well, yes, that's correct, but I'm not necessarily sure they're just not going to be flat out beaten tonight by the running Rebels there of UNLV, who will be on that blue turf, that blue monster, in freezing temperatures, although it doesn't look like there's going to be a rain or snow or anything along those lines. Wind doesn't look to be a factor, just a cold night in Boise, and UNLV is looking for redemption as they lost a tough one against this Boise State team back in October. But boy, oh boy, the winner here very well just punched their ticket right into the college football playoff. So that is going to have a lot of juice here tonight. We also have, of course, a pretty interesting game in at a 7 o'clock time frame, is Jacksonville State taking on Western Kentucky. And call me crazy, I could have sworn we just saw this game last week. That's because we did. These two teams had already faced off a week ago, but they are going to get a chance to do it again at Amherst Stadium here. I think this is going to be a much higher scoring game than the one that we got last week, in which Western Kentucky barely beat Jacksonville State 19-17. The interesting part here is whether or not the quarterback for Jacksonville State, who had to leave the game last week. Will he be going? Tyler Huff. They say he's going to try to give it a go. This is a guy with more than 2,000 yards passing, more than 1,200 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns on the ground. It'll be hard to replace, but it looks like they're going to be going here in what should be Rich Rod's, a way for him to put his stamp on what has been a very interesting season, but they're going to have an opportunity to do it, and that's kicking off at the top of next hour. Of course, we got treated to a great game to kick off Week 14 in the NFL as we all watch the Detroit Lions not give up and go ahead and handle, once again, the Green Bay Packers as they have done all year long. A sweep of the Packers last night with a walk-off field goal to be able to get it done after going for not one, not two, not three, but 5 in total, fourth down, go for-ing it. They did convert on 4 of the 5. That's Dan Campbell for you. And just like that, the Lions 11-1, heading into a little bit of a bye week here. And the Vikings, well, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, just a game behind them. Vikings already lost the first go-around against Detroit. And as luck would have it, that will be the final game of the regular season for both. So it could very well come down to that final game plus a couple of tie-breaking situations. But Minnesota and Detroit, far from over yet. And the schedules do get pretty daunting here over the next 4 games. So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, Green Bay proving once again that they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they might not be good enough to overtake some of the better competition in the NFL. And Detroit, with a whole lot of backups on the defensive side of the ball, still managed to put up more points than the Green Bay Packers. So Packers, unfortunately, don't owe any tiebreakers, but I think we can all agree that they are certainly worthy of a playoff spot. And who knows? Crazier things have happened. Injury bugs are hitting. Anything could go here. And Minnesota's got an interesting one as they welcome back in Kirk Cousins this week. So we'll see what happens there as the Falcons come into town against the Minnesota Vikings. And the Falcons desperately looking for a win of any kind. And will they or won't they get it this week? That's going to go a long way in determining, of course, whether or not Minnesota can actually catch the Detroit Lions for that NFC North crown. We also have plenty of NBA action here tonight, getting ready. Full slate there, 7 games, I believe, in total, getting ready to kick off top of the hour with the Magic and the 76ers. Wait, didn't we just see this? Yes, we did. And the Magic won. Now they're going to try to win again against the lowly 76ers, who are sitting at 5-15 and wondering, where did it go all wrong? Yeah, I have a few good ideas on where it went wrong to 76ers, but the good news is you're not the LA Lakers, because it's gone from bad to worse with the Lakers. They too, coming up next hour, 7:30 tip against the suddenly red-hot Atlanta Hawks. That's going to be at State Farm Arena there. Hawks laying 5 in that one, and quite honestly, that's a game I might just look at the alternate line market. Why? Because the Lakers have been getting blown out by double figures, it seems, on a regular basis, and the effort has been abysmal. You want to talk about a team that looks totally disinterested, disjointed, call it what you want. Not good for the Lakers, and I don't think it gets any better here tonight, but we do have the coach, James Young, coming up here in just a few. We'll get his thoughts on that. And also, I think the game of the night is going to be at the 7:30 tip-off between the Celtics and the Bucks. The Bucks welcoming back Chris Middleton tonight to the lineup, and that's going to be huge as the Celtics are on the front end of a back-to-back here. They are looking to continue rolling 18-4 on the season. The Bucks haven't been great to start, but boy, they've been really good over the last couple of weeks here. Now they get old reliable Chris Middleton back, and finally the Bucks could be healthy in order to be able to give the Celtics a run for their money. Lot to talk about in that game, and the highest total of the NBA season so far. Well, that's in a game tonight between the Pacers and the Bulls, as that game will likely come close to a total of 250 before the tip at 8 o'clock p.m. So we got much to discuss in the NBA. We only got 16 games in college basketball, but a couple of big programs going at it tonight. West Virginia and Georgetown comes to mind. Northwestern, much more to get to. Come back and join us on Game Time Decisions.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday, the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, joined by the coach, James Young, in the house. That means we got plenty of hoops to get to here, Coach. Love it's an interesting NBA slate tonight. We'll get to the Bucks Celtics here. I think that should be the game of the night with Chris Middleton getting back. But let's talk about the dumpster fire of all dumpster fires here. The Philadelphia 76ers tipping off top of the hour against Orlando. Listen, I'll be the one to tell you, Coach, when Boncaro went down, I was like, yep, all right, nice seeing you, Orlando. It's been a great time. But my goodness, Coach, is it possible they actually got better by losing Boncaro, forcing guys to be able to step up and play some team basketball? They handled business last night against the 76ers. There's no reason they can't do it again, right? Or
yeah, I mean, listen, that was a tough game that 106-102 game, and I think listen, I want people to understand this. I think Jamal Mosley right now, to me, with the injury to Banchero, is in the clubhouse right now for Coach of the Year. I really do believe, as good as Kenny Atkinson is, like you lose a guy the caliber of Banchero, an all NBA type player. I mean, 16-8 is remarkable. But I want to push back a little bit because people are going to look at the last 10 games they've played and look at the fact that they're 8-2. But think about this. At Phoenix, without Durant and Beal, right? They lose at the Clippers. They win at the Lakers. Well, everyone beats the Lakers. Detroit, at Charlotte, Chicago, at Brooklyn, at Brooklyn. They didn't really play murderer's row here, Joe. So although I'm impressed with what they've done, the only 3 spots, or 2 spots, I would say, they've played teams that were pretty good. At the Clippers, lost, and then that 15-point game against the Knicks was 35 at one point, I think, late third quarter. So we'll see what happens tonight. But at the end of the day, there's no bigger dumpster fire in sports than the Philadelphia 76ers. Oh, I'm sorry. That would be my New York Jets. They're a little bit more of a dumpster fire, but that's another sport. Give me the Magic minus the points tonight.
Well, listen, as long as we're throwing and lighting trash on fire, let's talk about the Lakers, who are in Atlanta, Coach, taking on the suddenly resurgent Hawks, who got healthy finally, and nobody seems to have noticed how good this team was certainly going to be on paper before the season started. They had all those injuries. Now they're finally starting to play some basketball. And what do you make of this Lakers team in this stretch here, Coach? What's going on?
Well, simply put, I mean, this is another team, folks, that I want people to kind of understand. All of us got so excited, right? When the Lakers got off to a good start, they won 3 games to start the season. I want people to start to now look at what they've accomplished this year. Simply put, go look at their schedule. So they win their opening night game against Minnesota, a team that's been up and down all year, right? Then they go and they beat Phoenix. Now that's the outlier. That's a good win, right? Because everybody was playing, and I think that was the only loss they had in that first 8 or 9 before Durant got hurt, right? Then they beat Sacramento. Okay. But Sacramento's underachieved. They're just starting to play better. Think about the teams they played that have been good. At Phoenix, they lose. At Cleveland, they get run out of the building. At Memphis, they get run out of the building, right? Then they had that stretch lately where they lost to Orlando, lost to Denver, lost at Phoenix, lost to Oklahoma City, lost at Miami, lost at Minnesota. Go back, and if you take out the first week of the season, Joe, what is the big win that they have? San Antonio.
Yeah.
That's their big win. So the Lakers, I think, caught everybody by surprise, but they are what we know they were. They are a team relying on a 39, almost 40-year-old superstar, Anthony Davis, who still comes and goes as he pleases. My man, D'Angelo Russell, who, I mean, he's just terrible. Vincent, which that's the Belichick curse, like with the Heat. When Miami Heat don't re-sign you, that's a sign, buyer's remorse. Don't go sign him. Rui Hachimura can't get it together. Austin Reeves, like the player. Jackson Hayes might as well be the Jackson 5, right? I mean, where else are we going to go with this team? Oh, Bronny? I mean, listen, at the end of the day, this team's a hot mess. And they are what we thought they're going to be. Honestly, the best part about the Lakers has been Dalton Connect. That's it. That's it. Jared Vanderbilt can't stay healthy. Christian Wood, he no good, right? So what are we doing here? So this is a team that's going to struggle, and they're going to struggle mightily, and they may not even make the playoffs.
That's how bad it has gotten, and the effort is just abysmal. Body language watching this team play. It's just awful. The game of the night, Coach, though, Celtics feels like a big number, laying 8.5. The Bucks welcome back Chris Middleton here tonight, playing good basketball. I mean, listen, the Celtics are capable of winning by 20 on any night, but you give the Bucks a puncher's chance here?
No, because you got to remember, although no Porzingis, I think Horford's back tonight, and I believe Tatum's back tonight. So it's everybody but Porzingis against a Milwaukee team that every time we get excited about, they go and they lay an egg. They just laid an egg by 15 to Atlanta, right? A couple of nights ago. So they're another team. When you go look at their record and the run that they had before their loss, Houston on a back-to-back by 1. Chicago, not good. Indiana, underachieving. Charlotte, terrible. At Miami, decent win. Washington, they should change their name to the damn Generals. They're so bad. At Detroit. Folks, simply put, when teams get hot and they start winning games, sometimes pump the brakes of excitement and look at what they're doing, and more importantly, who it's against. Give me the Celtics minus the points tonight.
Ooh, liking the Celtics here tonight, minus the 8.5 here at home. That game coming up at 7:30. All right, we got a couple of just a limited card in college hoops, Coach. We'll talk about that coming up. I want to get your thoughts also on Minnesota and Golden State. That should be another good one on the late night schedule. We'll be back here to Coach James Young hanging with us here on Game Time Decisions.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, you're TCU trained. Listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in here. Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside the coach, James Young, talking some hoops here, Coach. And one more in the NBA as the Lakers, let's not talk about the Lakers anymore, the Golden State Warriors, rather, look to welcome back Steph Curry and Draymond Green. They had off last night, didn't matter. They still handled business against Houston. But now, look, Minnesota, it's been a little rocky, Coach, to say the least, to start the season. But one thing I know is they can play some defense, and they kind of relied on that over this last week to get back on track. So what do you think we get tonight?
Yeah, I would. If there's a couple ways you can look at it. I do like what I've seen lately out of Minnesota, which is you haven't figured out in the offensive end, Joe. So you know what you do? You hang your hat on your defense until your offense comes around. And I think that's an interesting take because if you look at a team like the Knicks, it's been the opposite, which is hang on your offense until your defense figures it out. So for me, looking at a team like the Timberwolves, who've given up 92, 80, and 80 in their last 3 games, I like what I've seen out of them defensively. And on a back-to-back, I know Steph and Draymond, right, are going to play tonight. But I like Minnesota here to get the win. And I also, if you want to look at the team total under for the Golden State Warriors, a Warriors team that really has a really good offense, but also their defense could kind of hang them a little bit. Remember, they only scored 99 points last night. Now, I know they get stuff back, right? But 105 versus Phoenix, 105 or 101 versus OKC, right? 94 versus the Spurs. Even only 112 against the New Orleans Pelican teams that can't stop a nosebleed. Maybe look at the team total under tonight for Golden State as Minnesota will grind this game down and play it at their pace.
I love it. All right, we got not only 16 games on the card here tonight, but West Virginia at home, Coach, taking on Georgetown and Ed Cooley, who, listen, they've played the Sisters of the Poor, but still 7-1 straight up. I mean, this is finally, it looks like Georgetown has Ed Cooley and some players here. Is it enough to back here tonight at West Virginia?
Absolutely not. If you look at the one game, just look at their schedule, Joe. The one opponent they played that was decent, Notre Dame ran them out their own building by 21 points. Right? Now you're looking at West Virginia, you're like, well, West Virginia, they're not, are they playing a loaded schedule? Well, yeah. I mean, they played Arizona, beat them by 7. They played Louisville, that have done a good job. They were competitive, and they obviously beat Gonzaga. I can't go with Ed Cooley's team. Ed Cooley is a guy that ran to Georgetown from Providence, and people talk about him that he's like this great messiah of a coach. He ain't winning this game against the Freeze and that Mountaineer team in Morgantown. They haven't played anybody. Give me West Virginia minus the points at home.
And what a very young Illinois team, Coach, as a favorite on the road against, Northwestern, who's, they got some players here. What do you think?
Do not go near that game. Joe Raineri, you know the rule and you know handicapping better than me. I'm a coach. I'm a kid for the coach. But I know one thing I've learned from people like you. Do not take a road short ranked favorite. Don't take them. We saw it last night. Purdue was, I think, a 1.5 point favorite at Penn State, lost by 11. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I'm taking Northwestern on the money line. Tell you, listen, Chris Collins has done a really good job with this team. I understand that they have 3 losses, and I know that would be concerning, but one of them was at Iowa at the buzzer. Butler is pretty darn good, and Dayton is Dayton. So to me, I'm going with Northwestern on the money line to get an upset at home.
Coach, I love it here. Bertie tells me you might be attending a Villanova game sometime this weekend here. Might that be a clue as to who you might be betting this weekend here? Just asking.
Well, listen, K-Dub made fun of me last time I came on GameTime Decisions and said, well, you don't have to bet Villanova every time. But guess what? I was right this time. So guess what? Kyle Neptune, I'm back on the bandwagon. Eric Dixon, Wilger Poplar, Wilger, just make sure you show up to shoot around on time and don't get benched. Give me the Wildcats at home at the Wells Fargo Center tomorrow in Illinois. Look for Coach. I'll be there.
I can't. It's unbelievable. It just keeps getting better and better. Coach James Young, enjoy that game, Coach. We'll be back. Game Time Decisions here on the Grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, if you're TCU trained, listen, Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions on this Friday, the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, and now we go from the hardwood to the ice as the NHL got a nice slate of games here tonight. George Kurtz stepping in for us, and Kurtz, we'll start with a little bit of news about an hour ago. We just learned that the Rangers have made a significant move to shake up their roster in the midst of what is just a ridiculous slump here. They traded their captain, Troubadour, to the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, he was named the 28th captain in Rangers history in the 22-23 season. And am I crazy, or have they been trying to trade him ever since? Like, what's going on here with the Rangers?
You're not crazy. No, they had a deal with Detroit done over the summer. I'm going to say over the winter here. That's baseball. But they had a deal done with Detroit, but Troubadour, he had a no trade clause. Said no, I ain't going to Detroit. I guess he likes Anaheim better. Who wouldn't? You know, sunny California. So, or maybe that wasn't on his list of teams. But the Rangers needed a shake up. I mean, listen. I don't know what this really truly does for them, Joe. I mean, you're trading Troubadour away. You're not adding anybody NHL worthy, right? You're getting a defensive prospect here and a draft pick here, a 4th-round pick. So it's a shake up as far as, hey, you don't start playing better? He ain't the last one to go. Maybe you're going next. That sort of thing. We'll see how it works. They also signed Shesterkin to a massive contract extension today. Was it 8 years, $92 million, so $11.5 million a year. So you send one person away, you give another person a nice big contract here. We'll see what happens. This is a better team than what they played. They haven't played all that well here, but it's mainly been because of defense. Is Trouba part of the problem? Okay, maybe. Yeah, but does sending him away do it? I don't think it's a one-player problem, Joe. I thought it was a team-wide problem. Where they just too many 2-on-1s, nobody covering for a defensive when he chips in, that sort of thing. That's not all, just on one person. But here's your first shot across the bow. We'll see what happens with the New York Rangers.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens there. It has not been good during this slump here, Kurtz. We talked about it the other night as one of the more disappointing teams so far. But they do have, I don't know, we're going to find out, I guess, tonight, right? Taking on Pittsburgh. So will this light the fire, they hope, maybe send a message into that locker room when they trade your captain? What do you think we're going to get here tonight in this one?
Well, it should send a message, right? I mean, it absolutely should send a message
No.
here. And you're playing a team, by the way, that probably also needs to do a big shakeup, right? And we've already heard noise of that. Maybe Carr's going to say, hey, listen, I want to finish my career with a winner. You know, you think some other players, Ray Bork did it with Colorado back in the day. We've seen this before where superstar players from one team leave, but not because they're mad at the organization, but because that organization is rebuilding. And the Penguins, I said, if we're getting on the Rangers are at least they're 13-10, right? There are 3 games above 500 here. Pittsburgh, not so much. They've been really awful this year. All right, so you wonder if what's going to shake up is happening there. I said this before, by the way. When Dubas came over from Toronto to Pittsburgh to be the GM, I assumed, Joe, that he was going to be the bad guy. You know, listen, Malkin, we can't re-sign you, buddy. You know, Letang, we can't re-sign you, buddy. Instead, they sort of retooled and went for it, which is just silly. This team's not built for that. All right, Tristan Jarry is playing better here. That being said, it's hard to place any kind of significant amount of coin on the game tonight. But yeah, I'll go with the Rangers here. I can't, mainly because I can't bet on Pittsburgh. All right, we'll go with the shakeup thing. Hey, in the NFL, we got the new head coach bump, right? Teams have won when they get the new head coach. We'll see if in the NHL we can get it with the big trade bump.
So I have no idea how Washington continues to be this good, especially without Ovechkin, Kurtz. But yet here we are. Now they're taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs in what feels like, I don't know, a light price here tonight. What do you think we're going to get in this one?
I think both teams need to be applauded. All right, Washington Redskins playing so well here without Ovechkin, who was hot as Hades, by the way, when he got hurt. Right, he broke his leg. He's skating, by the way. It's 18 days of surgery here, or since he broke his leg. He might be back. It was really 4 to 6 weeks. He might be back sooner than we think here. He could be back. I wouldn't be surprised he's back sometime next week here. So good for Aho there, the grade 8, as he continues to chase Gretzky's record here. Don't know if he can get it this year now that he had this injury, but we'll see. Maybe he gets hot again. But they played well without him. Remember, Toronto. This is not the Toronto of old, it seems like, right? I mean, their goaltenders, just matter who they put in net. Stolarz or Wall are playing fantastic, utterly fantastic. Austin Matthews has come back. He's scoring goals again. He looks like whatever he did in Germany to get it figured out, he's playing very well. Maybe he's fixed here. They're playing well defensively. They're playing well in net, and they can still score goals. Joe, I don't know if they can keep it up. I don't. But if they can, could this be the year? I mean, Cam Stewart would be bouncing off the walls of Toronto, could go a couple of rounds in the playoffs, and he'd probably flip out there if we get to the Stanley Cup here. But if they can keep this up, maybe this is their year. Maybe it is. I don't know. I have my doubts here, but they're playing very well here. Stolarz, Wall playing well. Matthews back. Oh, they're getting healthier here. Hard to bet the Capitals, although they played so well. They beat the Devils the other day, which I didn't see coming here. I keep betting against the Capitals, and I keep paying for it. So we'll see if that's going to happen again tonight. Give me the Leafs.
It's so hard to trust, especially come postseason time. But like you said, hats off to both franchises for weathering the storm here. We'll see if that can continue. How about the Devils, though? Can they continue rolling, taking on the Kraken here tonight?
Yeah, Kraken went to Long Island last night and destroyed the Islanders there. Just depressing. Was it? It ended up being 5-2, and the score was much worse than 5-2. By the way, for anybody who wasn't watching that game, Devils are too high a price. You're not laying $275 here. Even if you give a goal and a half here, you're still paying negative money here. So the price to pay is on the Kraken. The problem is this: I almost never bet on a team playing on the second half of back-to-back nights against a team that's not playing on the second half of back-to-back nights. Plus, the Devils are good. They're really good. They might be the best team in the Metropolitan Division here. Maybe one of the best teams in the East here. So I can't do it that way. I kind of think the game does go over. I'm getting plus money there, so that's where I'm leaning. I'm also leaning on the Devils team total over 3.5. So I'm going to go with Devils team total over here. I'm going to probably play it. I am going to play the goal in here, but a smaller bet here, and a Nico Hischier anytime goal.
Ooh, like where you're going there. What are we doing with Minnesota, by the way? 5.5 is the total in this game. Gustafsson has been ridiculous, but the Ducks are just an under machine. 11-4-1 to the under here. What are we doing with that? It doesn't feel like this is going to be a high-scoring shootout here tonight with Minnesota.
Agreed. They're the best, one of the best, if not the best under team in the NHL here. So we'll stick with the under. We're getting a better price on the under than the over anyway. So there's no reason to bet the over there. Minnesota probably wins the game. Anaheim, this is not a terrible team anymore. All right, They're growing. Right, they've got some better players to the draft. They're growing here. I think Zegras is out tonight, so that's something to keep an eye on there. One of their better players, although probably one of their more disappointing players as well. They expect more at him. But this is not like I said, this is not the Ducks of 2 years ago. They were a joke, like a laughing stock. This team's not an automatic win. Minnesota is probably maybe the biggest pleasant surprise in the NHL. Not that we thought they'd be terrible, but we thought they'd be a bubble team for the playoffs, right, Joe? A bubble team. Instead they're playing lights out here. Gustafson's been a main reason why. Kaprizov, probably not talked enough about right now, be the MVP of the league here. Give it a while.
What are we doing, Vegas and Dallas? Dallas coming off of that loss against the Kings. Vegas handled business against Anaheim last game out. What are we looking at?
This is your game of the night, right? In Vegas here. Vegas is getting plus money. I mean, so I have no choice right there. You're going to give Vegas plus money at home. It's only plus 105. You're only getting a nickel. But that being said, I'm taking Vegas. It's not a knock against Dallas. Dallas is a very good team. I do wonder, remember they lost the game 4 to 6 months now with another hip injury here. So I do wonder if that hurts here. Plus money, give me the Vegas Golden Knights, Hill against Ottinger.
All right, looking for them to get it done here tonight. That should be a good one. It's actually a great slate of games here across the board in the NHL tonight, getting ready to go. 7 o'clock, top of the hour. Kraken, Devils, Capitals, and Leafs. Kurtz, always a pleasure, man. Let's cast those tickets. Unless it's against the Islanders, then we know we will. Game Time Decisions continues.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, you're TCU train. Listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions. Rolling on here on this December the 6th. Can't believe it. Big Friday, big weekend here across the sports landscape. Joe Raineri welcoming in our good friend again, Colby Dant, who I believe last time we had on the show was bird watching for most of the day until, of course, I don't know, is a duck a bird? I'm not sure, Colby, but how about them Oregon Ducks the other night in college basketball? But we got bigger fish to fry here because tonight we're kicking off championship week, college football. 3 games here tonight, and then, of course, we've got the slate tomorrow. What is the most intriguing game coming up this weekend? Of all of the games in there, I know Clemson SMU probably holds the most weight because if Clemson wins, then it's forget it. Alabama fans are going to go crazy. But what are you thinking here? What's the one game that intrigues you the most?
Yeah, I think it would either be the Clemson SMU or the Big 12. Probably the Big 12. Just because. Look, I think I like to tout and say, hey, I had this team in the championship game, but I got to be honest, I did not have Arizona State sniffing the Big 12 championship. Now I thought Iowa State was capable. Matt Campbell got them there a couple years ago, but Arizona State's been red hot. Their schedule I thought was incredibly challenging coming into the year. With the road trip at Texas State, with hosting Mississippi State and. I know Mississippi State wasn't going to be much, but I just thought week in, week out, it was actually a very tough schedule. And to have them where they are, I thought, and now they lose their best wideout in Jordan Tyson. Can they go into Jerry's world and take down Iowa State? I'm a skeptic. I like Iowa State, but I think that game is kind of a 50-50 game. Iowa State plays so many close games, one fumble, one missed field goal could be the difference, even if that's in the first quarter. So I find that game to be the most fascinating.
It's so hard for me. I mean, listen, for the last, 4 or 5 years, Matt Campbell at Iowa State, and he has been fantastic as a dog, by the way, in conference games. But his biggest issues were he couldn't beat Texas and OU. Well, guess who's not there anymore, Colby? Texas and OU are not an issue anymore for him. So I do think Matt Campbell and Iowa State, who have been playing kind of do-or-die football now for the last month, trying to get themselves back on track. So I think it's an interesting game. I think the game tonight, Tulane and Army coming up, is also interesting. I mean, what means more to Army, beating Tulane or beating Navy next week? You know what I mean? It's such a unique situation with this Army team. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I would say the Navy game, but I still think this one, are they completely eliminated? Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. If they win 42-7 tonight and UNLV wins against Boise by a field goal, are they just automatically taking UNLV with 2 losses over America with 1 loss to Notre Dame?
It's a good question, and it's that kind of chaos. But I think the only way that happens is if they do, or at least the conversation is it has to be selling out. Army's got to sell out to want to do this all again. And then, that's my point with the Navy game. Really? Well, are we going to push come to shove? What means more to them? That's the only concern I have.
Well, let me hit you with the flip side of that. You got John Summerall interviewing for North Carolina. Yeah. I mean, how much do those players even want to? And here's another thing. The coldest game that I could find that they played was in the high 60s. It's 28 degrees in West Point. How much does Tulane even want to be there? So it's a fascinating game in that regards of yes, is Army capable of beating them that bad? I think they have to blow them out if they want any chance of potentially making the playoff. And then they're going to need help from UNLV. I just think it's a PR nightmare from the playoff committee, though. Let's say Army does blow them out, and then UNLV wins in a crazy game in overtime or something. Then are you really going to leave out? And if memory serves me correct, I think the Army might even be a sponsor in the college football playoff. So,
correct.
I think that could be very intriguing. And then you have Navy on deck. You're right. You're 100% right. That's a clear look ahead spot in that regard. I think Army's going to cover though, because I just wonder where Tulane's head's at. You can't make the playoffs. Your coach is already taking interviews apparently. UCF, UNC. So and the 28-degree thing, I think that's a real thing. So I like Army tonight against Tulane.
Yeah, I think it's far too many points here in those kinds of conditions. And I don't know. It feels like, are we getting a wild shootout with Tulane and Army? I don't think so. I think Army's just going to want to hold on to it and play that kind of football and drain that defense of Tulane, who already faced the option, by the way, against Navy. So it's, second go around, which is the teams always play the option better after seeing it once. But you mentioned it, UNLV, Boise. How you looking at this game coming up tonight?
I'm all over Boise. I just think on the Smurf turf, they're unbelievable since like '98. I think they have like 11 losses or 12 losses or something on the Smurf turf, and then they've had UNLV's number under Barry Odom, and Barry Odom's done an unbelievable job. But I even think they played both UNLV both times in Vegas in that dome. Now they got to go to Boise. It's cold as heck, and also it's windy, so I think it's going to limit their passing attack to Ricky White. I think Boise's going to run away with this.
Yeah, and I think Barry Odom is going to, let's face it, he's going to be interviewing for a few jobs too, I think, when it's all said and done this year. The guy's done an amazing job. And by the way, just to go back to I'm not blaming Summerall, but let's face it. I'm pretty sure when you're interviewing Belichick at North Carolina, then Colby, you and I can also interview for North Carolina. I think if you have a heartbeat and answer the phone, North Carolina will interview. Not that it means anything, but yes, North Carolina, apparently a hotbed destination for guys like Bill Belichick. Don't go anywhere there, Colby. We'll have more with him as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, if you're TCU trained, listen, Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we keep rolling on this big Friday across the sports landscape. Joe Raineri joined by our good friend Brady Cannon in the house. And Brady, I talked to you on Wednesday and completely forgot that we've got the Hero World Challenge going on. And it was funny off air, you telling me, I went with the chalk. And I said, chalk? You're like, yep, Scotty Scheffler. And I'm like, what is he, like minus 300? He was actually at a plus number, Brady, but at like plus $2 or $3 at best. But even though it's been a while since we've seen him, very hard to fade him. And I guess we're not wrong.
No, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about things right now. And, it was plus 225 that I got him. He was as high as, I believe, plus 250. I got plus 225. And one renowned odds maker here in town, one of the best golf odds makers, I think, in the world, Jeff Sherman at the Westgate Superbook, said he ought to be minus 225. And so that was music to my ears. And that's about what he is now. He's got a 2-shot lead through 2 days. I mean, you talk about him being off for a while, right? Well, that was kind of the narrative coming in this week. It's like, gosh, do I want to bet him? We haven't seen him since late August at the Tour Championship. I'm like, guys, it was the same thing last year when he won this same tournament. Hadn't seen him since late August, and he beat the field by 3 shots here in the Bahamas. So maybe the rust happened on day one when he missed 6 greens in regulation, wasn't able to get up and down on one of them. That was a little bit of a blemish. The putter was off. He lost strokes to the field with the putter, and then bang, he comes out today, gains 1.5 strokes with the putter, number 1 on the field on approach, gaining 3 strokes with the irons on approach, number 1 in greens in regulation, only missed 2 greens in regulation all day, got up and down, scrambled successfully on both the greens that he missed. And here he is. He went out, Joe. He was totally average on Thursday, middle of the pack, as greens in regulation, approach, this and that and the other, and he shot 5 under par. 5 under par on an average day for Scotty. Now he turns it around and he shoots 64. He shoots 8 under par. Everything's clicking. He's got a 2-shot advantage. And here he are. I've seen him anywhere from minus 200 to minus 250. And I tell you what, I'd probably still bet him. I've got the pre-tournament ticket, but I don't see guys catching him. Scotty Scheffler 2024 is happening all over again, it looks like right now.
Yeah, and I think they said it's the first player since, ironically enough, Tiger Woods back in 2009 to start and finish the year at number 1 in the world. And, it's interesting. Guys with that layoff, some guys, equipment changes, swing coach changes. It appears he went to work maybe a little bit on that putting stroke, tried to figure some things out. And, yeah, who's overtaking him at number 1 in the world anytime soon? I'm just curious here, Brady.
Yeah, Bryson DeChambeau's a guy that you would think could possibly do that, but he plays on the live circuit, and you're just not going to get those week-to-week rankings. You can go win as many U.S. Opens as you want, but you're not really going to ascend in the rankings a whole lot if you're playing over on the live circuit. Rory's a guy that if he ever kicks it into gear for an entire season rather than just a week or two, he could certainly catch him. But we don't see nobody. This is historic right now. We've talked about it. I mean, what Scotty Scheffler is doing is Tiger Woods-esque. Now he's got to do it for about the next 10 years to really be, in Tiger territory. But what he's doing, the way he's playing, it is a Tiger-like trajectory.
And it's machine-like. It really is. It's rinse and repeat with him. And the biggest part you and I have always talked about, the biggest issue to him was the putting was the one thing you were, but I mean, his shots, his approach shots and everything else is just off the charts. But if he ever really figures it out putting-wise, we're talking, what, a decade of Scotty Scheffler if he stays healthy? What is he, 27, 28?
Yeah, I kind of hope. I mean, we've been able to witness a few things in our lives. Greatness, right?
Yes.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. Maybe Scheffler's another one. I would welcome it. He's done it for a couple of years in a row now. Let's put 8 more together, Scotty. And hey, Joe, it's good for us. It's like betting Floyd Mayweather. I'll keep betting him at plus 225, right?
It really is. But Tiger at least had Phil and a few others. I don't know. With the Live Tour, who's catching them? Like, it's unbelievable. All right, Brady, don't go anywhere. Another hour of Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, if you're TCU trained, listen, Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah. All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we're getting ready for what is going to be a huge weekend in the world of sports. Listen, we've got college football and we've got championship week here starting tonight. We got 3 games. We have, of course, all culminating tomorrow with the Big Ten championship with Penn State taking on Oregon. But, man, we got off to a great start in Week 14 in the NFL last night. And what was a great game. And Brady Cannon stepping in and joining us. And, Brady, you and I, we talked Wednesday, and I said, man, I can't believe the hook is still out there with this game with Green Bay. Like, it doesn't feel like – with all the injuries on the defensive side of Detroit, are we really going to give this out at 3.5? And then, sure enough, it ended up being the difference. But I mean, Detroit clearly appears to be on a different level here. What was your takeaway from that last night?
It was really entertaining. That was a heck of a ball game, and I tell you, I was fortunate enough to be at. The legend himself, Jay Cornegay, the former vice president of race and sports at the Superbook, just announced his retirement a couple weeks ago. And I was at his retirement party last night with a bunch of other Hall of Fame luminary odds makers in the room. And a few of them weren't too happy about that game landing exactly on 3. So it was either a push or a win. They didn't really win too many bets in that one landing on 3. But yeah, absolutely entertaining. You know, the only thing, and it's week in and week out. We talked about this, Joe. We try and poke holes in this Detroit team. Well, they're injured. Well, the schedule spot's bad. Well, this, well, that. The injuries are starting to pile up a little bit. You wonder about their contest next week with the Buffalo Bills. But on the other hand, you know, if they can lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC, I think they're going to be okay, because apparently, from what I'm understanding, is a lot of these players that have been hurt are expected to come back for the postseason. So you talk about a team that continues to find ways to win no matter the circumstances, and they're going to get healthy at the right time. Look out.
Yeah, I'm with you here, man. It's I'd like to see how they do in these outdoor games coming up, but for right now, I wouldn't want to face him indoors. That's for sure. All right, let's talk about this Buccaneers team, who also, listen, they gave some games away early in the season that they probably shouldn't have. They also had to deal with a lot of injuries, but they're here in in Florida, in Tampa, laying just under a touchdown. And this just feels like Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans time here. What are we thinking?
Well, I hope it's Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans early and often and all day long. Evans, I think, will be fine. He expressed that there's no issue there. I think he was nursing a calf and, the hamstring. But I think the hamstring is kind of old news. The calf is, kind of come up this week. But he said he's going to be in there. I think he's listed as questionable, but I'm not too worried about him. Bucky Irving, the great running back that has really emerged for that team, he's listed as questionable. He's a little banged up. I did play Tampa Bay minus the 6.5. Their injuries are out there on the report that worry me a little bit. But this is really, for me, more a bet against the Raiders, Joe. Last week, Antonio Pierce comes out and he has this weird narrative, with the press about we're the worst team in football and we're playing the best team and woe is me and oh, blah, blah. And apparently it worked because the Raiders absolutely responded and showed up. And there's no doubt about it, should have won that game. I mean, can you come any closer to winning without actually winning? That was just absolutely unreal that Las Vegas didn't win that game. They completely emptied the tank. They left everything on the field. I think that was their swan song. I don't know how they have anything left to get up for another game. How's the coach going to spin it this week? Obviously they're playing the Chiefs. That's their biggest rival probably. So I don't know how they get up for a non-conference game here on the road after everything that happened last week. And that's really why I played. I was pretty much going to look at whoever was facing the Raiders this week. I was going to be on them. And my numbers come out to 7. So it's not a huge margin there versus 6.5. But I think Tampa Bay you expect is going to win the game. And that means they have a real good chance to cover the game.
Yeah, I do too, especially at home here. The Eagles laying, man, that's a lot of points. Coming off of another big win there against Baltimore. Now they take on a team nobody wants to give any credit to, but seems to be getting better and better each week with Bryce Young. Do we trust the Eagles to go home and once again roll over a bad team?
Well, we did see the Panthers come to play against the Kansas City Chiefs, but other than that, they've been doing it against kind of nobody. I mean, Tampa Bay is somebody, but they also did it to the Giants and the Saints. I'm not giving a whole lot of credence to those victories there. But if you crunch, this is really a numbers play for me. I don't love the scheduling spot for Philadelphia. They come off of the Baltimore game, and next week they take on Pittsburgh, the in-state rivalry type thing. But my numbers were so overwhelmingly in favor of Philadelphia here. I had to play it. And now we've seen the market react as well. I played it at 12.5. It's now up to 13.5. I think less than 14 is probably still a play. My numbers come out to 16 in favor of Philadelphia. I had one set of stats, Joe, that makes Philadelphia a 21-point favorite. I mean, they are just so much better in the stats than Carolina. I had to take a shot with it. We know this team's on a roll. Like I say, the only thing I could see giving them a little bit of a stumble here is the schedule spot off of Baltimore with Pittsburgh on deck. But I'm hoping they don't blink. You got Devontae Smith is expected to come back here. We know how strong they've been, not only when they've had, just one receiver the past couple of weeks, but when they had both receivers in the lineup, that's what really started this run for them. So now having A.J. Brown and Smith back and looking good and healthy, maybe that's what puts them, from an 8 or 9 point win into hopefully about a 14-point win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've got to handle business because they're still in line for home field advantage, just a game behind Detroit in the NFC. Your Chargers, we talked about this game a little bit on Wednesday. It sounds like you finally came around to a side in this one. Which one is it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bolts here. I've made some money on the Chargers this year, and I'm just very impressed. I think most of all, you got to cite the turnaround with the head coach. Jim Harbaugh really doing a great job there. I do worry a little bit about J.K. Dobbins not being in this lineup, but now I believe it's the third week or 2.5 games, I guess, that he's been absent here in the lineup with injury. So I think that's probably enough time for Harbaugh to figure it out and how they can attack differently. We know the defense. We know the defense can play. The Kansas City. I mean, the Chiefs, I don't know how they did it last year in winning the Super Bowl because they were looking down and out for a long time in the second half of last season. I think this season they're almost worse, yet they only have one loss. I mean, the way they continue to pull a rabbit out of their hat is just unbelievable. When I crunch the numbers here, there are a lot of numbers out there, Joe, that have Kansas City looking like a very average team. When I crunch the stats in this one, I make Kansas City about a half-point favorite over the Chargers. So the fact that we're getting 4, not just 3, not 2.5, but 4, yeah, give me Los Angeles. I almost said San Diego. Do that every time.
Yeah, I'm on the under too, though, because I think the defense has come to play, and I don't trust the offense at Kansas City. No, there's no big playability anymore with them. Brady, best of luck, my man. Enjoy the games as Game Time Decisions continues here on the grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on this Friday, the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Loaded slate across sports here tonight. We've got some college basketball underway here on a 16-game slate, heading into a huge weekend on the hardwood. NBA action tonight should be a lot of fun, not to mention the NHL. But, of course, it is championship week, which means college football championships about to be decided. The American Athletic, as well as the Mountain West coming up a little bit later. And the guy who will take you through all of it, Scotty Wetzel, stepping in, joining us in-game live, coming up top of the hour. Scotty, we are underway right now with the one game here with Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky, a game which we just saw last weekend. 3-0 Western Kentucky on top in that one. But the Army-Tulane game is the one you'll be covering here on In-Game Live. I'm seeing 4.5s now starting to come in, so it looks like some Army money. 45.5 is the total. How you looking at this one?
Yeah, and if you're Tulane, you wish 45 was the degrees where they're going to be playing. Instead, you take about points off that, Joe. I mean, honestly, you got to. I don't know how you don't play Army. First off, little pop quiz for the audience out there. If I told you a team was 42-8 their last 50 home games, how many people out there would say, "Oh, Army," right? Right, but that's the case. This team doesn't lose at Mikey Stadium. Been there, beautiful facility. They're 42-8. It's a home game for them. It's got to be in the teens. Well, maybe not the teens, but it's in the 20s right now. So you got Tulane, warm weather club, going up north. They want to throw the football, and they're going to try to throw the football when it's 25 degrees out, literally 25 degrees. Good luck. Good luck, Joe. So you want some crazy numbers about how good Army has been? How about 5 turnovers, Joe, all season? 5. How about 43 penalties all season? How about this one? How about guess how many 3-and-outs they've had all season in 12 games? 15. I mean, basically one time a game. And if you throw out the Notre Dame game, which they had 4, then in real competition for them, like Tulane is, only 11 times, less than basically once a game. So there's just too many positives for me to take not take the 4.5 points, 5, whatever it is. Listen, Tulane's great. I get all that. They lost last week to Memphis, snapping an 8-game losing streak. I'll take Army plus points at home in those frigid temperatures.
Yeah, gonna be a chilly one there. It's also going to be a chilly one of sorts there in Boise, but not a lot of wind, not a lot of outside elements. Temperatures looks like right around 30 degrees or so. UNLV, Boise State, Mountain West Championship. Listen, these two teams, they've already battled. It was a close win by Boise. What are we getting round 2 here tonight?
You know, I think I'm going to go with the over, Joe. I do like Boise a little bit, but, you know, they only won by 5 last time, 29-24, so the number is right there. The first game would have gone under this total, 57.5, but that's only because they didn't have any points scored in the final 12 minutes. This was on pace for 65 points. I don't know what happened in the final 12 minutes, but there was no scoring. I don't think that's going to happen again. Nearly every single Boise home game this year has hit this total. They score 40 points a game at home. 10 out of the 12 UNLV games have hit this total, or 50 points or more anyway. So they have some points coming. I think we're going to get some points. They did a pretty good job on Gente. I will say that. The running back for Boise State only had 130-plus yards. That was his lowest total when he had 20 carries or more, and he had 33. But despite that, so 33 carries, and they still got to 53 points. So that was like the perfect storm. I think we're going to get some points tonight. Give me the over 57.5.
Over 57.5. I mentioned just 16 games in college basketball tonight, but one of them, a couple of Big Ten teams here with Illinois taking on Northwestern. They're a favorite on the road, Scotty. What do you think we're going to get there?
Yeah, it may be on the road, Joe, but I haven't lived in Illinois. There might be just as many Illinois fans there as there are Northwestern fans. So, and I did see in some circles it got lowered to 3. I'm surprised. Illinois beat Northwestern 8 of their last 10. 7 of those 8 wins have come by 4 points or more. Like I said, this is not, I mean, it's a home game because it's on Northwestern's campus, but Northwestern is right there in Chicago. It's a hop, skip, and a jump for Illinois fans who are littered throughout the state. So this will be a 50-50 game. Illinois is the real deal. You know, went toe-to-toe with Alabama. They've beaten some good teams. Northwestern really hasn't faced anybody. They're 6-3. Anybody with a breath they've lost to this year. So give me Illinois laying to 3.5.
All right, laying the 3.5 in that one there. And then, of course, a great slate in the NBA, but not unless, of course, you're the Lakers, who are absolutely hot trash here, Scotty. And now they're taking on the upstart Atlanta Hawks, who are actually healthy and playing some basketball. What gives here tonight in this one?
Yeah. Well, you talk about, Joe, ships going in the opposite direction, right? This is it. I mean, you said it. Lakers just awful. You know, they had won 6 in a row. They were playing great. Everyone's giving props to J.J. Redick. Oh, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, blah, 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 blah. And they're 2-6 since that 6-game winning streak. And now the Hawks have won 5 straight. They're finally healthy. We've talked about it a couple of times. They're playing great. They're at home. They don't lose at home. You're laying a little bit of juice here, 5.5. You know, I would have liked that been down to like 3.5, but I'm going to do it. Maybe buy the hook, get it down to 5, and give me Atlanta playing great basketball at home against the Lakers, who don't have a history of all of a sudden turning it around when they're on the road like this.
You got Trailblazers taking on another dumpster fire of a team here tonight, Scotty, in the late night degenerate special. Utah taking on Portland. 2.5 I'm seeing for the Blazers. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, we don't have a Hawaii game, Joe, so we got to use this one for our bailout special, right? If things don't go well with the college football, the college basketball, so 2 bad teams, one worse than the other, but the one that's worse is the Utah Jazz. They're on the road. They're 4-17. They're horrible. Portland actually 4-1 their last 5 games at home, straight up and against the spread. So you know what? Minus only 2.5. If you got to have an action and a late night game, give me Portland laying the 2.5, Joe, against the Jazz.
I love it. All right, stay there. I want to get your thoughts on the Timberwolves Warriors. That's another big game coming up late night tonight. Plus, we'll talk some NHL as Scotty Wetzel returns here. Game Time Decisions. Come back and join us on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, you're TCU trained. Listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Get ready, top of the hour, in-game live. We'll take center stage, and we've got plenty of games going on here tonight, including a pretty big one in the NBA late night here, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And the man hosting in-game live, Scotty Wetzel, stepping in, joining us here again. And Scotty, Steph Curry, Draymond Green took off last night. Didn't matter. Golden State still handled business against Houston. Now they take on Minnesota, who, well, they know they can't shoot, so they figured they might as well play some defense, Scotty, and that they've been doing. So what gives in this game? Pretty much a pick-em price right now.
Yeah. And by the way, just another example, right? The example number 500,444 of star players not playing and have their teams win.
Yep.
I mean, it's just amazing. It really is just, why would you ever put American money on Golden State without the Draymond and Steph playing? And what do? They beat a red-hot Houston Rockets team, albeit at home. So
crazy.
And somehow or another, they made their miraculous recovery from whatever injury they seemed to have yesterday. All of a sudden, they're able to play today. So, okay, whatever. I'm going to go with the under here, Joe. Minnesota's playing some good ball of late. It's taken them a little while. They own this series 5-1, last 6 against Golden State, but I don't have the courage to bet them on the road, even though Golden State is playing their second game. But without those guys, they really aren't. Those guys aren't. So, but I'm going to go under. 218, 219 and change. Minnesota 6-1 under their last 7 games, and then Golden State 8-1 under their last 9. So I do like betting into these streaks. The teams, get in these moods where they want to play some defense. Yep. Minnesota's in it. They're seeing success with that. So I think that's going to continue. And then Golden State, like I said, sometimes the Golden State numbers are more because the Vegas numbers have been so high. This one is obviously not that high, but I still like the under. I'll go with the under in this one.
Going with the under in that game there. And we've got an interesting slate of games here tonight, Scotty, on the ice, including a couple of like the Kraken and the Devils here. Interesting enough, whether you think the Devils can continue to roll teams. I'm guessing it's puck line or total here because I don't know anybody laying 260 with the Devils here. What do you think?
Yeah, boy, you get some crazy spreads tonight in the NHL. A lot of 2-1 favorite. Boy, it's tough to bet hockey generally if you don't know a whole lot about it. But even if you do, and you see 2-1, Toronto 2-1, Devils 260, Rangers 2-1, it's like who wants to do that, right? You can't do that. So you pick your next best bet. I'm going to go with the over here, Joe. Seattle 4-1 over their last 5 games. It's only 5.5. It's not 6.5. Little juice. So you only need to, a nice little 4-2 final will get the job done. Devils 7-3 over their last 10 home games, which is where this game is. They're playing well. 5-2 their last 7. That's because of goals being scored. So give me the over 5.5 minus 140 or so on Seattle and New Jersey.
All right, and what are we doing with the Canucks, I believe, taking on Columbus in an interesting spot here? Another 220 favorite, but how are you looking at it?
Yeah, we're gonna take Vancouver in regulation, minus 140. The key here is Columbus is playing its 3rd game in 4 nights. That's tough. That's tough in the NBA. It's tough anywhere except baseball. But it's definitely tough in hockey. Columbus had a nice little run there. They had won 5 of their last 6. But it hasn't, it's kind of faded out now. They've lost a couple in a row. Vancouver 6-2 over their last 8. They're putting goals on the board. Columbus gives up a ton of goals. This has got 6-2 written all over it. It really does. So if Vancouver's going to win, they're not going to need overtime. So you get it down to minus 140 or so. It's a pretty good drop when you are willing to bet these teams in regulation.
Yeah, did you see Stars and Golden Knights here tonight as well? Stars losing the other night inexplicably. Yeah. Golden Knights keep winning games, and they're they're plus money at home. What are we doing?
Yeah. Kind of weird. Dallas, here's a little quirky thing for you. Dallas, one of 3 teams that yet to have an overtime loss this year. They only have 1 overtime game,
really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, so, for whatever that means, right? But close games. 9 of the last 10 of these games have been decided by 2 goals or less, and a lot of those 2 goals were because of empty netters. So they have a history playing really close, 5-1 under. I kind of like the under in this one. You might get 5.5, might be 6.5 in some circles. I did see 6.5. So if you can get that, obviously I'm going under Dallas and Vegas.
I'm with you. I like the under too. Rangers trade their captain. Do they win tonight against Pittsburgh?
Nope. Penguins 4-1 last 5. I'm going Pens, but plus the big odds.
There you go. Sorry, Ranger fans. Scotty, we'll see you top of the hour in-game live as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, if you're TCU trained, listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live. Here we are, actually in-game live coming to top of the hour. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Get ready, of course, for Scotty Wetzel as well as Dave Sherapan and others to keep you posted on everything that's going on here tonight. And we got plenty happening here. College basketball, slates of games already underway. Looking forward to a couple of actually big-name games a little bit later, including Ed Cooley and the Georgetown Hoyas trying to make a resurgence as Georgetown has, well, let's face it, one of the all-time great programs that has produced some of the best NBA players over the years. It has not been great, but Ed Cooley, coming from Providence, takes this job. And they are knotted at 18 apiece here against West Virginia in West Virginia. They were getting 8.5. I thought Georgetown, listen, they've played nobody, and we get it. But very athletic. They've got 5 or 6 guys that are true starters on any team in the Big East. Ed Cooley is not an idiot. This is one of the better coaches in college basketball, great recruiter. And they're playing his brand of basketball. It's their first true road game. It's their first true road test. The schedule has been very cupcake. But Georgetown right now looks like showing that they belong, up 20-18 on the road against West Virginia. And then we've got Illinois, a young team on the road taking on Northwestern. They're laying 3 on the road. I don't know about that. It looks like Northwestern might take exception to that. We also have college football going on. And I know, speaking of college football, that one Dave Sherapan has got to be a little invested in at least one of these games coming up this weekend. And they're, oh, look at that. And I'm going to guess it's the Penn State Nittany Lions that Dave might be invested in emotionally here on this game tomorrow night. But we got a lot of football before you can pull your hair out, Dave, watching that game. And obviously, they're too late. Too late.
Already gone, Joe.
That's it. It's the thinking about it that did you in, my man.
Man, oh man, good to see you. It's going to be a big weekend, Joe. I mean, listen, I am beyond excited. It's been fun. It's been a fun season. Everybody has been talking about how James Franklin can't win the big game and Penn State is just going to disappoint and all this other stuff. I know how Morency felt last year with his team, a Big Ten team that we all got behind with Michigan. Not saying that right now that Penn State's going to win. I just want them to win tomorrow. If they win tomorrow, man, that would be great. It's 3.5. And I've been talking to people all week, not just here on SportsGrid, but on other shows and other places and on the street in the books. And man, oh man, nobody likes Penn State. Everybody likes Oregon. They got the cool uniforms. They got the fast team. They got all this stuff. Penn State, no offense, all this other stuff. I don't know, Joe. A lot of bad guys that I know, people that I respect, rhombuses, parallelograms, they keep telling me, Dave, don't worry. Oregon's not they're not going to blow them out. Penn State's live to win a game. Joe, I got the glasses. I usually put them on to listen.
Yep.
But I got to look through these glasses. These aren't rose-colored.
Yes.
But, I mean, there's a hint of blue in them. It might be the year, Joe. I'm okay. But really, Joe, the worst thing in the world, I mean, if they lose, if they get the 5 seed, they got the game tonight, Boise and UNLV. And the winner of that game, can my worlds collide? Where if Penn State loses and UNLV wins, Penn State hosts UNLV in Happy Valley.
Ooh.
How about this, Joe? You want to go? It's going to be freezing. It's going to be freezing.
Yeah, but we're going to have to get you hair between now and that game because you're going to be pulling it all out again. I mean, all over again, Dave. It's just a vicious cycle. And you want to do that to yourself. Absolutely not good. But I will say this, Dave, but to your point, somebody has got to be betting Penn State. It's not a lot of people, but they are certainly influential enough to keep moving this number down to 3 here in some spots. I mean, this number was 4.5. It's now down to 3, and the public loves themselves some Oregon.
I know.
But the public ain't moving the line towards Oregon, Dave. It keeps moving towards Penn State. I keep betting the under too, going, listen, if Penn State wins this game, it ain't going to be because it's a shootout.
That's absolutely right. That's I think you can make that correlated parlay.
Yeah.
It didn't take a Mensa member to come up with that solution. You're absolutely right.
Nope.
Penn State in the first half has been questionable at best against competitive teams, right? That's been the real bugaboo on the season against the good teams in the big games. They've just not played well in the first half at all. So I think maybe Oregon in the first half might be a play. I mean, emotionally for me, I hope it's wrong, but I think it's right as far as betting goes. I got to trust in the number. Sometimes, listen, you look at stuff and you go, well, wait, is it that easy? I don't know if Oregon -3 is going to be that easy, but if it's Oregon that easy, it's probably Oregon -10 that easy. You know what I mean? The Oregon is more of a substantial win, a blowout. Penn State's not blowing Oregon out. They're not blowing Oregon out as much as I'm wearing the Penn State stuff. Joe, I broke out my Big Ten Eastern Division champion T-shirt from 2016. You can't even find. This is a relic. I had hair when this thing was bought and won.
See?
It was that long ago. I mean, this is exciting. I'm a fan of where we're at for tonight's couple games and tomorrow. Aren't you? Like, college football has been great all season, I think, but I can't wait for tomorrow's games.
I mean, really, the only game that after tonight we'll have a pretty good understand with UNLV and Boise State what's ahead and who will be advancing with the that other Power 5 team there. It's in all likelihood going to be UNLV tonight who wins this game outright and advances. However, the Clemson SMU game,
man.
Everybody that I've talked to, Dave, it's the least handled game right now. That may change before we get to kickoff tomorrow. But it's the game with the most implications because Alabama fans are all going, let's go, SMU, handle business.
Right.
SMU wins. They're already in. There won't be any stealing of the bid by Clemson. Even if SMU loses this game, they're likely still in the playoffs, which means Clemson steals the spot from Alabama, who is the committee is just hell-bent on making sure is part of this playoff. The question is, does Dabo throw a party? Does Dabo ruin Alabama and Crimson Tide fans' dreams here? It wouldn't. I don't know.
Can you believe those odds? Like, and great job
Crazy.
by Costa popping those in there. Alabama's not in, and they're 15-1. Ahead of teams like Tennessee who were in and Indiana who were in. I don't know. People have taken a shot and betting Alabama to win it all week. They bet Alabama to be in the playoff, yes, and they moved the number from even money to minus 200 before the show on Tuesday. I don't know, Joe. I think the Lufthansa heist would be better, a bigger theft than stealing another bid. I don't want to see Alabama.
I don't want to see Clemson either. So that's the problem. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, you're TCU trained. Listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Dave Sharapan, getting ready, of course, top of the hour. In-game live with Scotty Wetzel and company, and, of course, plenty going on, college hoops. We've got NBA, we've got NHL, we've got championship college football here. 14-0 Jacksonville State over Western Kentucky here, still in the first quarter. But a lot of eyes coming to top of the hour, Dave. UNLV, number 19, taking on number 10, Boise State. And then Tulane taking on number 24, Army. And here's my problem with this game, Dave. What game means more to Army? This one or next week's game against Navy? Because I got to think this is it's the first year in the American Athletic. It would be great to win an American Athletic Conference in the first year for Army. Huge. But what does that mean if they lose the Navy next week? That's right. Not a consolation prize, Dave. That's the problem. So of all the things, this is one of the true look-ahead spots here, if I've ever seen one, just given what's at stake for this team. That's the only thing that worries me about Army in this one.
I agree with you. I know. And it's weird because the lines are almost the same. And yes. I feel like this game, if it was in a single time slot, just even an hour ahead, we'd be talking about it so much more because I think it's going to be a good game. And I don't know about you, but I would think Tulane Army, my first thought is over. I don't have an opinion. I don't have a bet on it. I'm just looking at it from a number standpoint. But you're right. There's so many other things in that Army-Navy game next week is it's such just a celebration of college football and of those two schools and all the people that have served and everything. It's an event, and it really signals the end of officially college football season. So I don't know, Joe. I don't have a real strong opinion either way, side or total in that game. But the other one with the UNLV and Boise State game, I mean, the buzz in town is real. It was the when Boise was here, and you get the rematch. You get, it's different conditions. It's later in the season. UNLV was really good on the road. UNLV was really good on the road this season. I think they're a live dog. Plus the points, yes, but a lot of people today spoke with their bankroll and bets. And, I got some text today that said Boise wins going away, double digits. And I was like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We'll watch it in game. We'll have it on. I don't know, Joe. I'm not sold.
No, I'm not sold either. But don't forget, Boise State beat UNLV 29-24 in that game. That was back in week 9. But there was an interception thrown by Malik Williams there at the end of the first half. And that was, Dave, the difference in the game because it set up Boise State on a 1st and goal at the 7 with a minute and a half left. They ended up getting the 7 points there, and that was your game. Other than that, these two teams are extremely even. There isn't a whole lot separating either of them. The only thing I would say I think that separates them is you got UNLV, I think, has a slightly better defense. But, Dave, you tell me a team that's got better special teams than UNLV. And at some point, if a game is so close, the edge in special teams to me goes to UNLV, and that could be very well what wins this game.
Saw it a couple times where a block.
Oh, my goodness. They are out of control, Dave.
They're really, really well coached on the special teams. Now, turnovers, as always, will decide in a game like this where the teams are pretty closely matched, but special teams also could decide it. So you might want to take a flyer on some crazy, defense to score bet or something like that if you're looking at it. I think there will be lead changes. I think there will be real swings of momentum in this, as opposed to like the Tulane Army game, where I think if Tulane gets going, that one may get away from Army pretty quick. Army has to keep that thing low scoring and close to not let Tulane get going. So, but here I think we could see a 10-point lead get erased. I think we could see multiple double-digit leads where somebody might be leading 10-0 or 13-3 and then trailing 20-13, something like that. It will swing tonight. I still, though, my first thought on the total on a UNLV game is under. I was looking at it going, it's a really high total. We'll see the conditions here shortly. I don't know. You look at all these games, Iowa State and Arizona State, it's a short number. I don't know what to really think. My small lean is to Arizona State. Georgia, Texas. Joe, do you have a feel for that game? Because I want Georgia to win.
I don't know how we're getting to 50 points in that game. I don't know what game people watched the first go-around because it was 52.5 in the first go-around, and they didn't get even remotely close there in a 30-15 game. I think both defenses show out. Neither team can run the ball, Dave, which is hilarious, given the fact that Georgia can't run and Texas has not had a great running attack here. And both quarterbacks are interception prone to make the big mistakes. I just think the defenses have to show up. And now that you've seen each other, I think this is going to be a rock fight. I don't think you sniff 49.5 points, Dave. I really don't. To me, this is like 21-17 to, 24-21, something along those lines. There's no way I think we get 50 points in this game.
I think first 1 to 30 wins, but only one team gets into 30.
If.
Right? So I agree with you. And, I mean, selfishly, I want to see Georgia win. But I guess Georgia's in even if they lose, which is strange to me.
And they're both in. That's the other problem, right?
Right? So what are we doing in there?
They're both in.
Tough game to bet.
Yeah, they're both in. And, the problem is this is now a marathon. It's not a sprint anymore. That's what's going to make this very, very interesting. All right, stay there. Before we get you out of here, we'll get a best bet out of Dave next here on the grid.
If they beat South Carolina, they're going to 10-1. So if you're on this, you're TCU trained. Listen. Mark and Chavi have done the job, but I may be the spokesman for TCU women's basketball because I believe in these guys and I know what they can do. If they beat South Carolina, they're going to be 10-1 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look what does it mean for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network as we look to wrap this up and pass the baton to In-Game Live coming up just a couple of minutes. Dave Sharapan here with us. He'll be joined by Scotty Wetzel, and they'll have all the games covered for you here tonight. We got plenty of them, Dave. Couple of games on the ice, too, of interest. Anything that you might be looking at? I'm looking at this Vegas-Dallas game, and I'm going, why is Vegas plus money here, Dave? What am I missing here tonight?
That's a tough game. I don't know. You look at that and you go, okay, should Vegas be favored? Maybe.
Right.
Dallas is so good. I mean, Dallas arguably the best team in the league right now. And I don't know yet if I'm ready to say, okay, just automatically play it because the Knights are a plus. Expect a playoff type game there. Under probably better. But I mean, the Wild tonight, I got it right here.
Yeah.
Let's see, 17-4-4 overall, 10-1-3 on the road. Very short price.
Unreal.
Against the Ducks. That's the play. I got my buddy Bubba watching the show right now, listening. He said, please find out what Raineri likes so he can pair it with your play and my play on the Wild and unload. I listen, people were listening, watching all over. Bubba's here in Vegas, but he's a Chicago guy. Joe, is it the Bears on Sunday? I mean.
Oh, no.
How can that be?
That's like asking if it's the Jets on Sunday. Like, no. We can't.
Joe, they might cover this weekend. Joe, they might cover on Sunday.
No, don't do it.
No?
Don't do that.
It's not
no,
the Jets?
None of them are covering. No, none of them are covering. If you want a team that's going to cover, do not look towards the Jets or towards anywhere remotely close to the Bears. If you want an outright dog winner, bet the New York Giants to win outright at home.
The Saints be favored by 4.5? What is that number?
Outdoors in December. And you want the Saints now to be laying. Yeah, Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to fall for that. I'll take the Giants outright here.
Fall for Jameis?
Outright.
Jameis, it's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. I mean, the Browns going to cover against the Steelers?
Oh, I don't care. I'm on the over. I think there's going to be 9 trillion points in that game. I think Jameis is going to be good for at least 2 more picks. And I think Russell Wilson going to be throwing all over that secondary. The Browns, much like we just saw Bo Nix throw all over that secondary for the Browns.
Let's go.
Points, Dave. Give me points, points, and more points in that game. I think the dogs could be barking this week. Why are the Falcons getting 5.5, Dave?
That one makes no sense to me. I can't believe it. But, I mean, people have been betting against the Vikings. They finally got paid off last week when the Cardinals covered but didn't win. The late game window, I mean, we'll talk about the Sunday night game at some point over the weekend. But the Buffalo Bills at the Rams, the Bills solidified their position as the best maybe team in the AFC, maybe best team overall. And they're only laying 3.5, and everybody that I know I respect, again, is on the Rams. Keep telling me the Bills got the Lions next week, and they're going to go to the Rams cross-country trip, blah, 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 blah. I know you're very near and dear to your heart with the Buffalo Bills fans and, you know, in your house. The Bills aren't going to the Rams to lose, are they?
No. And this is the point of the season, Dave, where you go, let's not overthink this here, people. The Rams are not beating the Buffalo Bills in any way, shape, or form. And Buffalo is not taking their foot off the gas for anybody, nor do they care anything about Detroit as if that's a look-ahead spot, because that's the NFC, as this game is, and the only thing they're interested in is dropping 30 points a game. And that Rams defense, they can score 30 points a game in that one. Dave, get out of here. UNLV called. They want their Mountain West trophy dusted off, ready to go. I told them you'll have it as the UNLV Running Rebels will be winning this Mountain West championship here. and Penn State tomorrow with an under against Oregon. And there you go. Dave Sherapan coming up, Scotty Wetzel in game live. These guys have got you covered. It's a great night in sports. There is absolutely no reason for you to go anywhere. Keep it here to the SportsGrid Network. Game Time Decisions back again tomorrow. Enjoy tonight. We'll see you again then.
Do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the